the three. That won't go. Connolly tracks it down. And Connolly will slow it down. Now throws it ahead to Gobert. Stripped and stolen by Waters. Ball knocked away. Alexander Walker to Gobert, and he bangs it home. Alexander Walker with another fine defensive play. You're going to ignore the skills of Rudy Gobert?
Rudy Gobert and the Timberwolves got along. They got right to work against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they got themselves to the postseason. Welcome into Playoff Central Live, presented by State Farm. Here from Atlanta, that's Coach Lloyd Pierce, Coach Sam Mitchell. I'm Matt Weiner. It was a 25-point blowout in the end. Minnesota led by as many as 29 and really just kind of took care of business against the young Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, who'd think that we'd be saying that the Minnesota team looked like the more experienced playoff-ready team, and they were. Tonight they were. Mike Conley, a guy that has a ton of playoff experience, Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns now in his second consecutive season of getting to the playoffs. They had poise, they were connected, and they got the job done.
Yeah, I just thought Minnesota was a better team. I mean, look, give Oklahoma City credit. They scrapped, they played hard, they played their style of basketball, attacking the rim, but when you got 2 7-footers and Rudy Gobert underneath the basket protecting, it just made it for a long night. And they forced OKC to shoot a lot of jumpers, which is not good for OKC.
Not their strength. Right.
Not their strength. And so, and Minnesota took advantage of that. Karl Anthony Towns, what I love about him is that if he smells an advantage, wherever it is, he's going to seek it out. And he knew he had a size advantage tonight, and he lived in the paint. He played 15 feet in. Yeah, he took some threes, but he lived in the paint and took advantage. And he and Rudy Gobert, they dominated this game tonight.
Yeah, Towns, after a frustrating Tuesday night in Los Angeles, remember he got into foul trouble, did not score in the third quarter in overtime of that loss to the Lakers. 11 of 16 tonight, 5 of 5 from the free throw line. He had 28 at 11, committed just 2 fouls along the way. And Gobert, after an eventful week, I think that's an understatement, an eventful week and a back injury, by the way, 21 and 10 tonight for the Timberwolves, who scored 58 in the paint. That's plus 28 for Minnesota.
Yeah, adversity brings out the best in all competitors, and they had a very adverse week. Tough loss at L.A., missing a couple guys, but I thought they did a tremendous job of bouncing back and staying connected in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Timberwolves, man, and you look at this series coming up against Denver. They went 2-2 against the Denver Nuggets this year. They had a 30-point blowout win against Denver. And I think this is going to be a tough series for Denver. This is something that we talked about. This is the first time in a long time I can remember the parity in the NBA. There is no guaranteed cakewalk when you look at the Western Conference and the seeds the way it's turned out.
Yeah.
Minnesota against Denver. I mean, they can beat Denver because Denver's not a good defensive team. Mike Malone has been on them all year about their defense and their transition defense. And what does Minnesota do? People, when you think of the Timberwolves, you think about the size they have, but people don't think about how good a shooting basketball team they are.
Yep.
They were second-best shooting team in the league, and you just don't think that when you watch them play. But they're a very good offensive team. If they can bring their defense with them, and get some timely stops and just make the Joker work, not let him dominate the game by getting 12, 13 assists. I'd rather make him more of a scorer than let him get his 30 and then get 12, 13 assists and 10, 11 rebounds. No, make him a volume scorer and take away all those assists and don't let the Denver Nuggets play through him.
And this is a series, you tell me I'm wrong, it seems to me that if you're going to have Gobert on the floor, you're going to have to make him an offensive weapon to punish Jokic for being out there. Otherwise, that's rest time for him.
Yeah, and that's going to be the issue. Can Minnesota, can they put Jokic in enough pick and rolls to where Rudy Gobert is effective,
right,
getting into the paint, but they're making him have to defend the entire game. This is the reason why Rudy Gobert was brought to Minnesota. He was here to anchor their defense, but he's going to have to contribute on the offensive side as well.
Minnesota was a top 10 defense in the regular season, and they held OKC tonight to 36% shooting.
Yeah, and OKC for the first time all year, I've been a big fan of their team. I love the way they play. I think they have versatility all across the lineup. Tonight, they look like the younger team.
Mm-hmm. No size. I mean, we talk about OKC, and I often wonder, if they can get a legitimate big man, how good they could be. It's tough. And Coach tells you can win a few games or your share of games, making jump shots and driving to the basket, getting to the free throw line. But come playoff time, you saw what happened. Who did Minnesota rely on? Their best player, Karl Anthony Towns, set the tone. Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, their best players stepped up and played their best. Other than Shai Gilgeous, everybody just kind of struggled for OKC because Minnesota made them play a different style of basketball. When they came out there big with Gobert and Karl, they went into that zone. And they took away those penetrating lanes, and they forced OKC to shoot jump shots. And they got good looks, but they just don't have the shooters to make enough.
But I'll say this is a young team in OKC. And to go into New Orleans and get the type of victory they had the other night is invaluable. To go to Minnesota and play this team who is hungry, who's been there before, and now they understand what they need to work on in the offseason. But the future is bright for Oklahoma.
I mean, Minnesota got 3 All-Stars. I mean, Rudy Gobert, he's kind of a possible.
Right.
You know, he makes the All-Star team every 3 or 4 years. But Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, you can pencil those 2 guys in going forward for the next 8-9 years. They are going to be all-stars. They are that good of players. And when you look at this team and the other ancillary pieces around them, to me, we're not talking about Mike Conley Jr. enough. All right? Look, D'Angelo Russell is a good
another former
player.
All-Star, by the way.
Yeah, he's a good player, but they needed a mature veteran leader. Nothing against D'Lo. D'Lo is a good player. He's probably a better offensive player than Mike Conley. But when you talk about experience, leadership, being an adult, and a guy that can command the room, you need a veteran point guard on the court with this team because you got Anthony Edwards need his touches. You got Karl need his touches. You need a veteran guy that knows how to distribute the rock and then still be good enough to get his when needed.
Yeah, and I coached Mike Conley in Memphis, and he had Zach Randolph, Marc Gasol, Rudy Gay, O.J. Mayo, Tony Allen. He was the same point guard then that he is now. He knew when and where to get the ball to which guy at which time, but he also knew when to take over in the offensive side as well. And so he's the perfect point guard for this time and for this team. They've got some young guys. They've had some adversity, and he remains poised through it all.
I think that's why they got a chance against Denver, because they got Mike Conley running this team. He's a coach on the floor. It's something you need in the playoffs. And it's going to be tough going to Denver those first 2 games.
And he doesn't get rattled, as we saw the other night when he made those free throws.
Anthony Edwards, 3 of 17 on Tuesday night in the loss in L.A., much better tonight in terms of efficiency, and he contributed 10 boards, 6 assists as well. How much closer to the Edwards they're going to need if they're going to be able to pull off this upset was he tonight?
Well, I think one of the things you think of when you see Anthony Edwards all year, any post-game interview that he does, he's always holding himself accountable. There's a certain amount of humility that he has. After the Los Angeles Lakers game the other night, made no excuses. Knew he didn't play well, didn't try and make an excuse, came out, got the job done tonight. I think he is one of our better young players in the league. Obviously, he is a scoring talent, but he showed his defensive prowess tonight, and he's just going to be a star in the playoffs this year.
I agree with you. I think Anthony Edwards' defense tonight was spot on. Second, his ability to make everybody else around him better. His first year or 2 in the league, you know, he was trying to find his way, getting his. That's what young guys do, establish himself. Now he understands that the defense is going to be set up to take certain things away. He used their defense to create opportunities for his teammate. He is a willing passer now. And anytime you got a good, young, athletic player that can live in the paint, that's going to spray the ball, that's going to keep your big guys happy, and that's going to make the big guys do what? Run, rebound, and defend. If those guys, Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert, do that, there's going to be a long, tough series for Denver.
Timberwolves are headed to the playoffs for consecutive seasons for the first time since